Yesterday I watched a film by the name of Mallrats, 1995. Um, I got it very cheap, thank goodness, because I didn't think it was great. It's one of these films you get in CEX in the UK, which is a store which takes like second-hand DVDs, video games, and so on, and resells them. Shannon Doherty's in it. I can't even remember the name of the two main actors, Jason Lee, I think, and someone else. It's not that important. Anyway, as a young Ben Affleck, and I don't want to talk so much about the film. Basically, it's about two guys who break up with their girlfriends. They want to get back. Very much, how would you call it? A bro movie, a teen movie, something like that. It's not important. But there's a scene at the end where Ben Affleck's character is arrested for statutory rape. This is because there is a character in the film, she's only 15, and uh, she's doing research on the sexual lives of men between 15 and 25, or 15 and 30, I think is her research. As part of this, she's going around and having sex. Now, his character has sex with her, and at the time, Ben Affleck was about 22, so I assume his character's meant to be about that age as well. Um, okay, so by legal definition, that is statutory rape because she's under 16. Now, as he's being arrested, he says, "Oh, I thought she was 39." And you see the situation there. Now, the film is billed as a comedy, but there is a serious aspect to this, and that is what do you what should be the case when you have a situation the defendant says he genuinely thought the girl was older. Now, in this case, in the synopsis of this film, you can clearly tell that Affleck's character is lying because she's obviously 15, and you can see in the context of the he says, "Oh, I thought she was 39," so you can see that was what they're doing there. But I do think in the real world there are troubling situations whereby a young man could go to prison for a very long time on charges of statutory rape, and I I'm going to throw this out there. I have a problem with how that is defined. Now, before anyone misjudges me, I absolutely do not think that men should have sex with teenage girls. Of course not. I mean, I would not touch it. I'm not crazy. I would always absolutely make sure the girl was at least at university, at least. And I think there's many ways to find that out. But let's look at a scenario. Let's say you have a 15-year-old girl who would be technically a minor in the eyes of the law. She's under 16. Let's say she's 15 and she dolls herself up to look 18, which is very possible. Very possible. Let's say a 19-year-old man or a 21-year-old man has sex with her. She lies and says, "I'm 18," or even "I'm 17." Um, Technically, he would be committing statutory rape. Now, this is why I have a problem with it. Um, I think a 15-year-old is old enough to know right from wrong. I think she is old enough to know that lying is wrong. If we're talking about a child, like a 9-year-old or something, that really is a case where they don't know what they're doing. But I believe most 15-year-olds know the difference between right and wrong, and they know that lying is wrong. So why why is it for I get that the man is the age of criminal responsibility, but I think it's a world of difference from someone who's an active predator who's actually looking for underage girls when someone has made a genuine mistake. And I threw that example out there, say a 21-year-old man with a 15-year-old and he thought she was 18, because that's the sort of scenario that could happen. But he would still go to jail. His whole life is ruined. He's only 21. Now, that strikes me as being very unfortunate, to say the least. I do think that there should be mitigating circumstances. And as I understand it, the law is in the UK, in the United States, in most countries, most Western countries anyway, that would be classed as statutory rape. Now, surely there needs to be mitigating factors where there is a genuinely strong possibility that he thought she was older. Now, I appreciate it's difficult to verify something like that because you could get a genuine predator who just says that. But more often than not, the girl herself will admit it. And I just don't think that a 15-year-old is as naive as people think they are. I think a 15-year-old knows that lying is wrong. So, why does society not teach girls don't lie? Why do we never raise that question? And before I get pounced on by feminists and others, um, I'm not saying that it's okay for a man to sleep with a 15-year-old girl. Definitely not. But the key issue here is whether he knows that or not. And some 15-year-olds do look older than their age. That's just a fact of life. And especially if they put makeup on, they dress up. sh- I, I have seen 15-year-olds in my life who could easily pass for 19, 20. No, I knew they were 15, so I stayed well away. But I could easily see a situation where a girl like that talks her way into a nightclub, starts chatting up a man. It just seems grossly unfair that a man would have his life ruined over something like that when it's a genuine, honest mistake. So I think there's a few things to think about here. Firstly, by the way, I'm not proposing that the age of consent is lower. Definitely not. I think it's 16's about right. But I do think common sense should come into prosecutions. And I think a 15-year-old surely knows that lying is wrong. So if she is knowingly lying to a man that she's with, that she's older, I also think most 15-year-olds would know that he would get into serious legal trouble. I think, a lot of 15-year-olds are smart. I don't think we should treat them like 7-year-olds. A 15-year-old, I would imagine, has a reasonable idea that if she lies about a man's age, or if she lies about her age, excuse me, um, a man could get into serious trouble for that. And I think there is a lesson for all men. When you're with a younger woman, be damn sure that she is old enough because the law's not on your side. Now, I've had younger girlfriends. The biggest gap I had when I was 29, I had a 22-year-old girlfriend. But I was very, sure that I knew she was at university. I helped her with some work, in fact. And I knew she was that age. But if I didn't know that she was at university, if I didn't have any signs that she was at university, I would have been very careful there. Definitely. Maybe I would have even rejected her because it's not worth it. So I will say this, I think that a man who you know, is going for a girl who looks young and like, let's say he is my age, 33, and he's going for an 18-year-old, well, I think that's a bit reckless. It's technically not illegal, but it's pretty reckless. And that 18-year-old turns out to be 15. I can't say I'm massively sympathetic to him, because to me that's very reckless. However, the law is a law, and that wouldn't technically be illegal. It would probably be frowned upon, but it's not legal. However, if she's under 16, it is. And yeah, I think there's a lot of talking points around this. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that it doesn't matter if he doesn't know her age? It's still she's technically the minor and he's technically the adult. That is how the law sees it. I think if there is reasonable evidence that he genuinely didn't know her age, I don't think he should get a custodial sentence. I think there should be mitigating factors there. I think if he is just saying that to get himself off the hook, that's a different matter. But I think I was just browsing a legal document before I made this video, like a legal it says it said like someone had opened up this question and it said, Well, some of them might even be telling the truth. Here's the thing, I think probably more men are telling the truth than we realize. I think there may well be a lot of cases out there where men genuinely believe the girl is older. Yes, you get predators in society, but you also, frankly, get young women who are quite manipulative. They knowingly lie about their age. And then maybe they broke up. Maybe she was angry about that and she wanted some sort of revenge. So she went to the authorities and said, "Oh, I'm only 15." I I wouldn't put it past some girls to do that. And my position is this, just to conclude. I think men should be very careful. I definitely don't think that a man should knowingly be with a teenager. I think that's wrong. Um, but I think that when we're, constantly bashing men in society, which you see all the time now, why don't we say, well, let's teach girls not to lie? Because some do. It's just a fact. Some girls lie. Some girls are manipulative. So why is the focus entirely on men? I know people are going to say he's the adult, but I believe that 15-year-old knows that lying is wrong. If I had daughters, I would tell them to stick up for themselves, never to allow themselves to be taken advantage by a man, and not to change their lives to suit a man. I would teach them to be strong young women, but I would also say never lie. If I had a son, I would tell him never mistreat women. If I had a daughter, I would tell her never lie about a man. To me, that's fairness. Okay, let me know your thoughts.